that guy right there. Suit 4 times, too big. Bought at Hilltop Mall. Giorgio's, if I remember correctly. Hold on. Let me check my Metro. Let me text my homies real quick. No, but simpler times. Take a look. Take a gander. Take a gander at all my people. Those are the homies back then. Some of my closest friends that I grew up with from the neighborhood, from the basketball team. Simpler times. Well, I tried thinking of something powerful to say in this monologue that would inspire people to do something great, to get involved in their community, to do something to make a change. But every day I wake up and there's just a new tragedy to process, to think about. There's all these different things happening and it's 100 miles per hour. It seems like since I had that Metro, things haven't slowed down. It's been a hell of a year, 2020. I'm not kidding. So now you fast forward from 2005 to 2020, and if I told you that I expected to be at that time where I'm at now, I'd be lying. Truth is, I didn't have no plan. I graduated from high school, and then that was it. I was in the workforce, but now I'm striving to make a difference in my community. I was inspired to do that by some local leaders, by national leaders, by community members, by my friends. So even though sometimes it may seem like I'm running in place, I think I'm 33 years old now, and wow, I've changed. You see, in 2005, if I was asked to participate in a community event, the answer would have been easy. No. Matter of fact, hell no. I definitely would not participate unless I was getting paid. And you see, that amount that I was getting paid was probably some nominal amount that didn't really equate to enough to buy a Burger King meal or maybe something from McDonald's dollar menu. But you see, now my values are a little different. I'm not the same guy as I was then, but I've made a little progress. So I don't take it personally when I'm sliding in your DMs and asking you to participate in a community event, because maybe you don't feel the same way about making a difference that I do, and that's not important. The most important thing is that you do what's important to you, and you make sure you do that. Well, now, even more important than money to me is my legacy, the impact I make on my neighbors, on my community. And I'm going to wrap up with a quick quote from one of my favorite quotes, actually, from a movie called About Schmidt. And in that movie, there's a man, he has an adopted son, and he tells him in this letter about an important quote that he needs to live by. And it goes something like this. When I die and everybody that I've known while I was here dies, unless I've done something significant, it'll be as if I were never born. So I'm here. What have you done? That's good. Hello, everybody. Hello. I'm Anslemo, and you're tuning in to the For Our Future podcast. Hope you enjoyed the monologue and intro. How you guys doing?
Well, I'm enjoying myself. Happy to be here. Glad to be here. If you guys didn't know, Anslemo kind of came off the dome with that one, and that was pretty impressive. That was pretty damn impressive, actually. Dig it, man. One thing that sort of stood out to me in that monologue was the fact that, I mean, you're right. 16, 17-year-old me would have probably threw in a little extra word than the hell no. But it's the truth. That we're here to change, I think.
Hi, everybody. My name's Diana. Yeah, good job. Yeah.
Freestyle.
Yeah, it's a freestyle, but it takes a lot to share so much with people. And hopefully it inspires a few, That picture, I was so surprised that was you. I couldn't even believe it.
Yeah.
You look so clean cut now, and then back then you look kind of ratchet.
Definitely. I probably had to go grilling. I don't know.
Oh wow.
I know.
Giorgio's. That's so funny.
That was the spot. That's how I got fresh. I think you probably can't see him in the picture, but I think I had some alligator shoes on.
Oh no.
Yeah, some gators on.
Some gators. They might have not been real gators, but they might have been plastic, but they looked like gators. That was most important.
Yeah.
We've come a long way.
Oh man, yeah. No, I definitely had a gold grill. For sure. 4 sizes.
Yeah.
I didn't go that big, but I was definitely 2X, and man, I'm nowhere near a 2X guy, man. So
yeah, not even if you tried.
No, yeah, I recognize a lot of people in there too. Terrence, you had Terrence in there.
Yeah,
Terrence Adams. You had Dwight Simmons in there. You had a Daryl Roberson in there. You had had a lot of good folks in there, man.
Yeah, shout out the class of 2005 Kennedy Eagles.
Yeah,
some of the folks in there actually 06, but a majority was 05. That was the prom. Overnight celebrity was the theme. I thought I was a celebrity, but I don't know.
I remember that night vividly. I remember Tyresha Woods backed into my sister's car. She had just gotten a Nissan Altima. 2005 Nissan Altima. Tyresha backed into my sister's car at the gas station.
Oh,
it was rough, man, but good times though. Good times.
Yeah. When I was putting together the monologue, or at least the little bullet points to do that, I didn't realize how hard it was going to be to really think about some of those things, some of those memories and stuff, and try to put something together that people could relate to. So I'm hearing good feedback. I'm glad you actually liked it. But let's jump right into today's topic, if you don't mind.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Yeah. So today's topic is going to be focused around breaking the system. And so that's basically the system that kind of oppresses our people from the city of Richmond. And I felt like that picture, at least for me, is a good symbol of that, because the mindset I had then is completely different than where I'm at now. And so I feel like maybe there's some people out there who can relate to that.
Yeah. Very, very tough subject to tackle. I think it has a lot of, how could I say it? A lot of problems that seem to have obvious answers, but it's far from it. So where do we start? Very, very tough question. Is it something that we start with our youth? I think it's main. It's one of the branches that stems from that problem tree. But very, very tough, regardless of however you look at it, I think. Well,
most definitely, we want to talk about breaking the cycle and continuing to move forward. No pun intended.
No pun intended.
But one of the topics, youth, it is related to youth, is education. And so that's something that moving forward has taken on as one of their 3 pillars. It's an area that they focus on trying to empower the community. Diana, can you tell us a little bit about the scholarship committee that you helped lead?
Oh, yes, for sure. So, I mean, the scholarship committee, it was composed of me and 4 other people. Let me count to make sure I didn't leave anybody out. Actually, 5 other people. So they take a lot of time out of their day, and this, for like the period of a whole month, we meet once a week, sometimes an hour to 2 hours to 2.5 hours. It really depends on the workload we get. So we spend our time reviewing applicants, and so these applicants, they come from all over the spectrum. Some come straight out of high school, some come from community college, some are current university students, some are vocational, right? Or they come from technical schools. So, they run the entire gamut. And so, but even prior to that, creating the rubric to, curate a thoughtful formula to select these applicants, even that part alone is a lot of work too, because there's a lot of components that come with like looking with a scholarship. It's not just like write an essay and pick the best essay, right? It's like transcripts, it's recommendations, it's resumes, and then creating a form that thoughtfully kind of puts a number to the application, So that's kind of what it's composed of.
It's really complicated, right? It's not as simple as just throwing money out the back of the window and seeing who gets it from the community and see if they do something good with it. We're actually really out there trying to select top young leaders from the community that can make a difference. And so there's a lot of thought process that goes into it, and we have a committee of folks who are putting a lot of time and energy into that, and it just does not happen on its own, and we're continuing to try and improve the process and make it better. A thought that just came to mind is the picture, and how at that age I didn't even apply for any scholarships. I wasn't even interested in scholarships. I was like, for what? And so I'm thinking like, wow, like I hadn't thought about that, but the young people who are actually taking the time out of their day to apply for a scholarship, that's the first step right there to actually receiving it, is applying for it, asking for it, applying for it. And I think that the scholarship committee and the whole scholarship program that we put together is something that I feel is super important, and I'm hoping that makes a major impact in our community.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to have run across a post that my cousin, Dr. Antonio Martinez, shout out to you. He had posted something up that had to do exact with the topic that you're dealing with today, that you chose to talk about today. And he has a list of stuff, and the list itself is called, or one of the lists is called Ways in Which Marginalized Groups Have Been Oppressed. 2 is limited access to quality education, educational opportunities, and higher education. I was in that same boat with you, Anslemo, where when I came out of high school, interest wasn't too high. As a matter of fact, I had the grades to go straight into a 4-year. But because I was scared, or honestly, I just didn't know enough about getting into college and, the whatabouts to get into it, to, scholarship applications, to applying for grants and stuff like that. I just didn't know, So is that a form of oppression? I definitely think so. Why is it that at 16, 17, going out of high school, we didn't know? I have no clue, dude. Like, I can't figure that out. But, it's definitely one of the main reasons why I'm here with you guys, because I want to definitely give somebody that opportunity to inform themselves about getting educated a lot quicker and a lot sooner. Because time is of the essence when it comes to that kind of stuff.
And education is a vessel that can take you places. It can inform you on things that you were not aware of. And that's part of the problem, is thinking about when I was at that younger age, I thought I knew everything already. And so that's a challenge of trying to help someone who thinks they know everything. And so now what we're trying to do is trying to meet people where they're at, and help share what we know in a way where it could actually reach them, because a lot of the information that gets spread goes right over someone's head in one ear and out the other. But there is one little story that I remembered. I think I may have shared it with you before. Actually, right now I work at a small law firm, right? And some of the attorneys there have young children, and I remember overhearing a conversation between a couple of attorneys about where they wanted to send their child to kindergarten. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. And so one of the attorneys was super excited because she got her kindergarten child into a competitive kindergarten program. And so I was like, well, that's kind of interesting, competitive kindergarten program. I didn't know it got so competitive, but she was excited, like this is like the first step to Yale or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And so not only that, she got accepted into this special, kindergarten program, but the cost of that kindergarten program, I looked it up later. I was like, I'm interested. Let me check this out. It's somewhere in the area of $25,000 per year for kindergarten, right? And then you have kids from my community, from the city of Richmond, in the inner city, like Nystrom, where I went. And I wouldn't be surprised if many of the parents don't make $25,000 a year, let alone have that kind of money to send their child to go to school. And so for me, like, that was like eye-opening. It was an interesting moment for me. And it just kind of shows the major differences in the opportunity that's available for the young people in our community versus someone in another community. And that's obviously so far apart, right? But even kids that live in maybe Berkeley or in another school district that have access to better quality education, So that's one of the challenges, is education. And if the viewers viewing now have any input on what they think about this subject, please chime in.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because, you see children coming out of Richmond, for example, and, they don't have any choice. So we're kind of born into it. You know what I mean? And they're forced to go to the closest public school, the closest one next to their house. And so that one might have a really bad rating. I've looked at the schools in Richmond, all the public schools in Richmond before, all elementaries, middles, and high schools. They have an average rating of a D. A C is like a decent school, with the exception of Middle College High School, which has an A- rating, right? Mm-hmm. So, just put that into perspective. These kids, they're brought into this world, into a public school system that's like on average a C, D. And it's like, what advantage do they really have in comparison to someone like Anselmo's coworker, who their son or daughter, they don't even have to think about the cost. They don't even think about the cost till they're like in high school, if that, and they go straight away to the best schools, the best resources, the best tutors, like the best SAT prep. And, it's like a feeder to Yale and to Harvard and to Stanford. And that's why I really like what Moving Forward is doing with the scholarship program, because you see kids that come from the background of Richmond, and you see some of them make it to Stanford. Like one of the scholarship recipients, for example, they're in Stanford right now, and they came straight from Richmond. So look at that adversity that they had to face in comparison to someone who has all the resources from the very beginning. It's almost like kids born here, they're like set up to fail. So that's something that, we want to bring attention to.
Yeah, I look at it, just like how you said it, but also with, obviously living it firsthand, we do have a crutch, My mom, I think the highest that she got in school was 6th grade. Mm-hmm. So all she knew was work. Mm-hmm. All she still knows is work. Mm-hmm. But she knows that, education and stuff like that will lead you to a better job. But she's dead on, just not dead on, but I think, she just doesn't know what it is to get into college and stuff like that, like the lawyer you're speaking of or the couple that you're speaking of, and like many other people, honestly, that are not first, second generation, which is uncommon here in Richmond, because a lot of people that are from here are first, second gen. So, you know, shedding some light and getting everybody involved to where it's just a common thing. It's you know, to where it's common knowledge to know who to hit up and where to go to for anything in general, not just scholarships, just for anything to get you ahead in life.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, we just need everybody working as a whole unit. And breaking that stigma that you were talking about with the whole hell no, I'm not 17, you know, I got better shit to do. No, you don't. You know, you really don't. But at the same time, I get it. You know, I'm not going to be a hypocrite, bro. I was 16, 17-year-old, and I would have, like I said, I wouldn't have said a hell no. I would have said a fuck no. You know what I'm saying? So breaking that stigma, I think, is definitely something that we need to do. And getting these kids involved, because, you know, at the end of the day, it's not just beneficial. It is fun, you know, like once you get them out, I know that, you know, they'll see it in a different light. And I think it takes our generation, I believe the late 20s to early 30s to get them geared up, dude, you know, because my nephews, they're getting older, they're gonna realize, all right, Tito John ain't that cool. You know, I gotta trap them, gotta get them in, you know, pin them in a corner before they know I'm not that cool.
Sometimes it takes those conversations, and sometimes it's not something you want to do. Sometimes it's awkward, you know, maybe it's not the easiest conversation to have, but trying to lead by example and share some knowledge with the next generation, I think is important. But just to bring it back, I don't want to bash public schools at all, because I've definitely had some really great public school teachers, but just like anything else, there's some really good ones and some that aren't so good. And so, yeah, that's definitely my truth, and everything that I'm going to share on here is 100% my perspective, my truth. I'm sure that some of the viewers may have had a different experience, as well as John and Diana. But another thing that I was thinking while you were talking was that a better job doesn't necessarily lead to a better life. I mean, there's definitely some people who, maybe your mom is one of those, who is getting by with a sixth grade education and is perfectly happy with the life that she chose. But now that doesn't mean that you shouldn't get an education or you shouldn't strive to improve. But I think the ultimate goal for me is happiness, right? And so I know a few people who have reached higher levels of education who are not as happy as someone who I know who maybe just got a high school diploma and quit there. And so I think that that's something that we have to keep in mind and keep in perspective when we have these conversations, because not everyone wants to go to college, and that's okay, and I respect that. But I also understand that a lot of people who sit back and don't want to go to college and complain about having to go to school or anything like that also are not happy, and they feel like there's all these barriers that's stopping them from reaching their goals. But many times I've seen that you just got to get out of your own way.
Absolutely true.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. I'll give you a quick example, highlighting kind of what you just said. My dad, for example, you know, he immigrated from Mexico. He's from Durango, and he made it to 3rd grade, right? And he came here. He came here when he was 16 or 17. Work a bunch of busing jobs, you know, delivery jobs, and eventually, like in his mid-20s, he got a job working for Richmond Sanitary. There, they have great benefits, great overtime pay, like, you know, a very stable job. He makes like $90K, you know? So I don't know, that's just one example. That is true. You don't necessarily need college for everything. And that's something else that we emphasize with the scholarships that we help, with scholarship recipients that we help select. We don't say by any means you have to go to a 4-year university. We make it a point to highlight, if you're interested in going to vocational schools, you know, we want to support you with that as well, because you could ultimately end up making more money than someone that went to a 4-year. So just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, I think that now more than ever, it is so evident that different jobs, the people who hold these jobs, are so important. I mean, look at the average grocery store cashier or stock boy or girl. Those jobs are so important. Right now, it's like, those are essential workers. Those are like first line soldiers that were going to war out there, and risking their lives during this time. And so I feel like now more than ever, society should realize, or I've realized, that all these jobs and all these roles are important, and that doesn't make someone lesser or better than,
That's very true.
Yeah. And, chiming off the whole happiness thing, absolutely. Probably the most valuable thing, I think. I've had a lot of people that I went to school with that changed majors left and right, because they just didn't know where they wanted to go with it. I personally graduated as an English major, heavy influenced by a teacher from Kennedy, Nicholas Salabrici. And it was something that I got a lot of hack about. A lot of people, were confused about it. Didn't know what I was going to do with it. To me, it just didn't matter, though. It's something that I knew that I loved, that I liked to do, that I continue to like to do. And happiness is definitely, is it going to land me a CEO job anywhere, or as a prospect to be a CEO, or is it gonna get me to the financial heights of other degrees that no, it's not. But I'm happy with it. And definitely it's I think something that a lot of these kids need to consider.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. And I feel like even with this project here, like I feel like you, John, have like a really creative mind, and like this is something like that makes you happy, like being able to feel that need of doing something like a podcast or making music or doing something like that. I feel like that's where your happiness is, and that's where like you draw that inspiration to do things from. So I think like on another point that I wanted to touch on, well, moving forward obviously has 3 pillars. Those of you who don't know, education is one, health is the other, and community service. Those are our main 3 focuses, our areas that we try and strive and make a difference in. There's a million different causes out there and things that people feel that are important, and those are the 3 that we've identified as what we want to put our efforts in towards. And so we talked a little bit about the education part, and then the health part comes into play, right? And so for me, it's simple. If you're not healthy, how are you going to get educated? The health is like the very basic foundation of being able to do something, right? If you're not healthy and you're worried about not feeling healthy, you're not going to be able to learn, right? Like health is like safety in my mind. So they go hand in hand. So when you have your health, then you feel safe and you're able to do different things. So with health, I know our communities are devastated by having liquor stores on every corner, having a ton of unhealthy foods being pushed onto us. We had different propositions that recently were a hot topic in the news about the soda tax or whatever you like to call it. So how do you two feel about how health in the city like Richmond is sometimes not what is a high priority for many people?
Oh, it's definitely it definitely should be a high priority. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if anyone's heard of the saying "health is wealth," but it essentially is, because think about it. You can be the richest person in the world. You could have you can have billions of dollars, but if you have a messed up heart, if you're like just completely out of shape, you can't groom yourself in the morning, you can't walk around, like what is that money good for? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know. So to me, that's something personally I believe in, and I know that's something the organization believes in, and it's just a good thing to instill in youth in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's also another stigma out there that I think really affects, if anything, the Latino culture. Is if you're a guy and you're not feeling cool, brush it off. You're good. Go get out and go fix something. You know what I'm saying? When you can be really suffering in the inside. Everybody goes through their ups and downs.
Yeah. That's real, man.
And it's frowned upon. I'm Latino, so I know this firsthand that it happens in Latino culture, and it's a very common thing. It's extremely common. So you have to push it down and push forward, and a lot of times, bro, it's not that easy. A lot of times it's serious. It's lethal sometimes. Whether it be physically lethal, where you just off and you check out, or the lethal to a point where you check out on your dream and just give that up. So on the topic of health, mental health is super important. And after that, I think the physical health follows through. But get your mind right, and then I think that everything starts to fall into place. It's not easy. It's not to say that just because you feel good every day, that things are going to be all roses, peachy. It's not that. But you'll find it easier. You'll find yourself in a better place if you're mentally there, you're mentally focused to take on the world.
You bring up a good point too. Like, aside from exercising and feeling good about yourself, and you fit into certain stuff, whatever. Like, aside from the cosmetic part of it, it's like a survival thing. Like, what if someone's chasing you, right, with a knife or a gun, whatever, and you can't run to your car? How sad is that? Like, how people think it's funny, but it's real. Like, you never know.
I remember when I was a kid, I don't know what it was, but sometimes when I would lay down, I'd wake up like in the middle of the night, and there's a word for it, there's a term for it, but I forget what it was. But I wouldn't be able to turn around because I felt like somebody was behind me.
Sleep paralysis?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Sleep paralysis. It's just crazy, dude. But it's, in a sense, it's kind of like that, I guess.
I just noticed we have a really cool comment. I really appreciate everyone commenting and stuff. From Doc Antonio, Product Reviews, it says important to acknowledge the intersectionality between health and poverty. He followed up with that by saying, especially when talking about where people of color shop or what they decide to feed their families. And unfortunately, you have a lot of folks more worried about the concept of survival rather than health. I thought that was an interesting comment there.
Oh, it's interesting. It's definitely true. I mean, I feel like I speak for us as a whole when I say, like, we don't advise people to buy expensive memberships, or we don't advise people to, like, buy a Peloton or whatever the case is. Like, it's as easy as going on a walk with your family, spending time with your family, or just like to reinforce that, or I don't know, make a game out of it, clean up the house, or even go on a run if you have spare time. Like, we encourage things like that. Our events, all of the time, they're free. Like, you can get plenty of exercise scheduling a day to come with us to clean up a park. Our
free community fitness classes that we have twice a week.
Free community fitness classes right there. There's resources. Oh, and when it comes to what's it called, food, right? There's different. I mean, it could be expensive depending on what you buy, but a lot of the times there's assistance out there if you're strategic about what you buy too, that could also address that issue.
And that makes me think of our fiscal sponsor. Moving forward's fiscal sponsor is Urban Tilth, and their whole thing is making a just food system for people of color to be able to grow their own food and have a sustainable food system, not dependent on these outside forces. So I think that's something that kind of is related.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's bring it back. The other pillar of moving forward is community service, and that's another area that we spend a lot of time in. cleaning up the neighborhoods. We were hosting our monthly community cleanups, which we do plan to kick back off very soon. Obviously, there will be some new policies in place when we do so. But for me, I know why I think the community cleanups are so important. But what do you guys think about something like that? What do you think that we would need to do, or what needs to be done in our communities to like further this mission?
Do you want to go?
You can go ahead. Take it on.
So what we can do it's really hard to motivate people to get out there. Everybody's time is, precious. So it's really hard to motivate different populations to go out there on the weekend and help clean up and stuff. But, every single time someone actually comes out to help, they feel so much better afterwards. It's almost like when you go on a run or you do something you really don't want to do, after you feel so much better. And it's just kind of like a circle, we like anyone that comes out to help clean up, they help out parks, they help out the city. It makes the neighbors around them feel good, it makes them feel proud. So that's kind of what I have to say about that. And that just in case someone's trying to come up with reasons to go out and volunteer, that's just, I don't know, a little bit of a motivating factor.
And the donuts, don't forget the donuts we always have, and coffee.
The donuts and coffee.
Speaking of healthy eating,
you don't need to get donuts.
In moderation.
You have coffee. Yeah.
Everything in moderation, people.
But
Everything in moderation.
if you wake up that morning and haven't ate, you need a little bit of a sugar rush to get you going. you'll burn it off.
It's a nice incentive.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna bring a conversation back, and we could jump back to the community service aspect of it. We had a comment from Real Combat Media. It says health is not just about physical abilities, but also mental and spirituality. And I think John touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely mental health, man. I'm gonna put myself out there and say that I combine both the mental and the spiritual part of the comment that Real Combat Media just said. I was, at a point where I find it hard to even get up sometimes, I was struggling with the simple things that most people don't struggle with, I can only assume. But, I started to look for different ways to find energy and stuff like that. And in part, I found it with the community of the church that I came to. I found it in switching up the game a little bit. The normal things that I was doing obviously weren't
breaking the system,
right? Breaking the circle, at least my everyday circle, the everyday things that I was doing all the time. I had to switch that up. And that, man, quickly changed my energy, and it wasn't like I did a huge difference in all the things that I was doing, but I was trying to fortify myself and strengthen how I was thinking about things, and why I had to figure out, man, why am I feeling so groggy all the time? And and it was starting to affect it. Like, I'm usually a cheery guy, easygoing and stuff like that, but I started becoming really I was getting irritated for every little thing, man. I was a fucking asshole. Like, I was a dick, you know what I'm saying? To most people, to be honest.
Hey, and you know what? That just makes me realize, man, like, it's so important that you check on your folks, you check on your people, you know, because honestly, I didn't realize that. So I feel like I let you down a little bit on that one, as far as checking in on your people, making sure they're okay. But that also makes me think about how, like, culturally, in our community, in the Latin community, that's not something you do. It's like, man up.
That's
exactly. I don't know how helpful that could be.
Push that shit down. But no, definitely that was something that's definitely real combat media. That is extremely real, man. You have to, and if you can, have them all working together at the same time, that trinity of health, mental and spiritual well-being, man, you are in a good place. You are in a great place. For sure.
And honestly, I think one of the most powerful things you can do is really just like live honestly and live in your truth. just by taking off that mask that we have to put on sometimes when we go out into the world. But the less you have to cover up or try and use to protect yourself, and you go out there and you just do you authentically, man, you feel so much better.
And, tying that to the community service, helping out and stuff like that, man, it will help. It will help with, sometimes people don't have anywhere or people to talk to. Get your mind distracted real quick. I promise you guys will have a good time.
Yeah.
I promise you I'll make you laugh at least one time.
Yeah.
While you're out there interacting with us, you're out there obviously obviously with the whole pandemic going on, we can't, but it doesn't mean that you still can't reach out to us regardless. I'm pretty sure Anslemo, Diana, and myself, I'm more than happy to talk to you guys about whatever it is you guys need to talk about, whether it be health, mental, or spiritually. And yeah.
And you know what, like moving forward, although we put it together to really empower others, honestly, I feel like the person, in my perspective, who's been empowered the most is me, personally, just because how you're able to help someone. And I hope that everyone who's involved feels that same way. But you feel as though, like, when you're able to empower someone else through education, community service, health, or whatever, then you feel like that feeling of being able to help somebody, it's one of the best feelings,
Yeah, definitely. And just in case anybody was wondering, in the beginning of the show, I was doing who knocked down Gianna's camera.
It's all good. No worries.
Fumbled it.
Yeah. So, man, that empowerment feeling is something that you don't necessarily have to have money to give to somebody to feel empowered by doing something like that. Even an act of community service, like Diana was talking about earlier, you can empower yourself, empower your community to take pride in your public spaces, in your parks, so that when your kids go out to play, they have a safe place to play and run around. You guys don't even want to know how many needles that we've had to pick up at some of these local parks. It's really disheartening. But at the same time, if you're not out there, we're not out there taking pride in our parks, then who's going to do that? And so that's my next talking point. Is I know like a lot of people talk about all the things that need to be done in the community, and I see this on social media a lot. People are chiming in on these posts and comments. This needs to happen. That needs to happen. This is not right. That's not right. But then when it comes time to do something, like actually do something other than a post, not to say that a post or a share can't inspire someone or inspire something to happen. Getting active and actually doing something in your community is a little bit different. And I just want to put that out there. And so I feel like there's a lot of what people call keyboard warriors out there that like to talk about it, but haven't necessarily made that jump to get out there and get active. You know what I mean? And so I feel as though it is kind of scary to actually get out there and do something when you haven't been. But I hope that this conversation can help inspire someone to actually make that jump from being a keyboard warrior to be a real life warrior.
Yeah, seriously.
And it doesn't take much.
Exactly.
It doesn't. Let's be real, guys. Let's go ahead and put you guys on the spot for a second. You guys, most of you guys, I know y'all ain't doing nothing anyway. Y'all ain't doing nothing anyway. Get out there. Yeah. Let's go ahead and have a good time. Let's go ahead and work out. Let's go ahead and get this thing going. Yeah. And I promise you, it's just going to be one of those things where it's going to break into your habits, and before you know it, it's just going to be something else for you to do.
Yeah, it's community service is something that's really easy to just fall into and just keep a habit of. The one time you really help out and contribute and step out of your comfort zone a little bit, and randomly go to a park cleanup yourself, the easier it gets down the line. And yeah, like we all mentioned before, like once you do it, you just feel so much better after. And it doesn't have to be specifically with moving forward. Just with you like reading your nephew's college essay, just with you, if you live in a gated community or something, or if you're by a park, you just clean up yourself. Like that's essentially how moving forward got started. With it was just like at first a random backpack giveaway, and then, you know, the conversation was had whether like to extend it for another year. And then it just grew from there. And then now like all these people are involved with it. Now it's a thing, you know, but before it was just, you know, it was just Victor and Anselmo kind of just packaging everything together, and now it's like this huge thing, you know.
And that's what I feel like, that fear of starting something and then failing scares a majority of people away from actually starting something. And then I feel like if you just start something and just say, you know what, screw it, if this fails miserably, then it does, and I learned something from it, and that's good. But obviously you want it to be successful. I feel like you got to just make that leap of faith sometimes and just do it, like Nike.
And people will, like, if you have that fear in your head, like, oh, what if I do a park cleanup and no one shows up?
Oh,
right?
well.
Yeah, it's happened before. Like, we've had park cleanups where it's just like 2 of 3 of us.
I think that's character building right there.
Yeah,
Though, you know?
it is just like,
It
you
is.
never know. You never know who's going to see what you're doing, stop by and help. Like, just with you having one additional person there, that's really encouraging. And it grew from just the members on the team there to like 2 extra people randomly off the street, to the next time 5 people, then 10 people, then I don't know, was our last one was like 15, something like that.
Yeah, we've had some big ones.
We've had like,
up to like 30.
So it happens. It's you're probably not gonna have a lot of success at first, but yeah, it does happen.
Yeah, and you know, that's on every aspect of this, of moving forward. If you just tell one other person about moving forward, whether it be a community cleanup, a fitness class, tuning in to see us, just telling one person literally doubles and quadruples, and you know, it makes us out there. It gets us out there even more. So also keep that in mind. Just tell one person.
Yeah.
Tell 2 people.
Yeah, light that fire, keep that fire going. And you know, moving forward, you know, I love it. Obviously, this is the project that I've been working on, that I helped build. But there's a ton of other amazing projects taking place in our community, making a major difference, right? So you could easily reach out to one of these organizations, because I'm sure that they need volunteer support. And if it's something like Urban Tilth and you like to do gardening and stuff like that, they do a monthly gardening project that you can volunteer with. They have farms in North Richmond that you could volunteer at.
Rich City Rides.
Yeah, they have a lot going on.
You have farms in North Richmond.
If bikes are your thing, you can definitely go to Rich City Rides. If music is your thing, or if you're looking in a college, or you want to tap more into that creative side, Rise Center has great resources. If you just want to see what's out there, you could always visit CoBiz. They have so many people and just different types of creatives that are interested in helping the community. So you could always find like your niche there. You know, you can, or there's even like clothing designs. You know, you can do different stuff like that to support your community.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be like all work and something that you don't want to do. You could actually give back to your community in ways that you enjoy. And so, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew that there's great projects, and this is definitely not like a promo here for Moving Forward. But please do follow Moving Forward. But on top of that, I was thinking while we were talking, I want to do a mural project. I need you guys' help.
Yeah.
Viewers, you guys heard it first. We got to do a mural project. I need your help. Help me out. Let me know.
Where do you? Where's there some good space, some good real estate that we can?
I don't know yet. I could think of somewhere. I don't even know where to start with a mural project, but somebody watching might. And if not, this is the age of information. You could easily pull out one of these bad boys.
Yeah.
And
Metros.
Submit something. Yeah. Submit a quick sketch.
You can look up, Google search how to start a mural project, nonprofit. Don't make it too long, because then you might get lost. But yeah, I definitely want to do a mural project. I need your help. We're gonna get it going. But yes, other areas that we can break the system. Obviously, that's what Moving Forward is doing. But there's so many different ways that I feel that our people have been oppressed. And one way that I think that is really important that people get involved right now is voting. I know this is an important year. It's an election year. Locally, it's a game changer because of the new districting for city council. Also, obviously, this is a major year because of the presidential election. And yeah, I mean, if you're not even registered to vote, then you're not even a part of the game. So that's the first step, getting registered, making sure that you can vote. And if you lost that right, I mean, I'm really sorry. That's really sad, but inspire someone else to vote. You know somebody that could vote. Let them know it's time for them to get registered.
Yeah, definitely. And, people, for those that, are fortunate enough that can vote, a lot of the times they just put emphasis on the presidential election, which, of course, don't get me wrong, that's definitely important. Vote for that. But what's just as important, and what I commonly see people skip over, and I'm sure like you've seen that too, a lot of people have seen that, is that they don't vote for like city council members or certain legislation that affects the city that you're living in. Like that's a like direct connection to you. So people should be incentivized to at least go on what is that neighbor app?
Nextdoor.
Go on Nextdoor, find out where like a free house party is happening, and if you don't know about ballots, you can attend one of those house parties and find information. Like people will give you the brief rundown of what like certain ordinances mean and stuff like that. Or you do some research yourself, or but the city level is just as important as the country level.
And those house parties that Diana's talking about are B.O.B. So don't come into that.
Yeah, and look, like grasping the idea of how important it is to vote, that's something that is directly related with education and understanding, But on top of that, that made me think of, since this year city council is being split up by districts in the city of Richmond, at least, it really opens up some things here for people to understand. There's people who are moving around to certain neighborhoods, certain districts, so that they could be elected for that certain position on the city council. A lot of that is going on, and it's not just for city council. It's also school board and other important elected officials that are strategizing to be able to make decisions for your community. And if you're not in the know and you're not actively involved or interested, then you're just sitting around and waiting for things to happen. And then when something does happen, it's difficult. Well, you could be upset about it, but it's difficult to make a difference about it. Yeah, so be a part of the game. If you're not registered to vote, that's the first step.
You guys want me to go?
Yeah, man, go. Oh, I can keep going.
I was going freestyle real quick. Anslemo style, Anslemo Raymond Chapman style.
I have something really quick.
Uh-huh.
Just in case people are confused about where to even register to vote, during election season, there's a lot of people that handing out information on how to register. You can find that so typically, especially if you live in the Richmond area, people will hand you the ballot if you're there at home, and they'll either hand it to you, or a lot of supermarkets, they'll wait in front of the supermarket and ask you if you want to register to vote there. If you're not sure, you can check to see if you're registered to vote. You can register to vote. And I find that the easiest way to register is when you go to the DMV. It's really quick right there. Like it'll ask you if you want to register, and you're getting your license. Like let's say you just turned 18 this year. If you're getting your license or whatever the case is, you can also go that route. So those are just a few different options, just in case people are confused on where to register to vote, because not all people have that information. So just in case.
And it's like important that someone from your neighborhood with your interests represents you, right? You if you have an implant coming into your neighborhood, making decisions for your neighborhood, it's possible that they're not going to have your best interest in mind. But man, I feel like we just hit the tip, barely the tip of the iceberg, and we're almost at the end of today's show. It's a sad thing. I know. I wish we could talk all day and all night because I could definitely.
We could, but for the viewers' sake, we're gonna keep it just for an hour. But I mean, the topic itself, when Anslemo had let us know about and the how to empower yourself in breaking the systemic oppression cycle, I was interested to see where it would go. It's such a broad topic. There's so much to talk about, which is a great thing, because that means that it's an open conversation for everybody to chime in, not just in this hour, but for hours to come.
Definitely. And like, we definitely want to hear the viewer's perspective. So thank you to everyone who tuned in and actually commented and interacted with us. Shout out to all those folks. Thank you. You know, if you have maybe subjects or topics that you would like for us to discuss related to today's, let us know. Comment, DM, whatever way. Give us a call if you got our phone numbers, so we could talk about it further. But I feel like this is an important topic, and we're barely tipping the iceberg. I really wanted to talk about the underrepresentation of our people, even on the grander scale, at the federal level and whatnot. Obviously, we talked about the local level a little bit, but I feel like we could go on and on and on for days. But I'd like to take a second before we wrap up and reflect on today's show. I can take it, or if you, Diana, John. So
go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I feel like today was really, really a learning experience, right? Obviously, from the actual monologue thing and being a part of the show and learning the ropes of this being our second show.
Camera flipping over.
Flipping cameras.
But also, like, just talking about these subjects, you know, they don't often get talked about in our communities enough. And I feel like it's important that someone, whether it be us or someone else, raise this conversation again and again and put it on a platform so people could start thinking about it. You know what I mean?
I think that it's a tough conversation to have with people. A lot of people don't agree on a lot of this different aspects of our community, and some might want attention on one aspect, more on one aspect than the other. And I think those are conversations, whether it be any conversation like that is good. You know, there's a lot of things that I'm sure that I'm not even aware of, like farms in North Richmond. You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to take you over there with my folks.
For sure.
I didn't know.
We're gonna go.
I had no
Get
idea.
you some fresh fruit and veggies.
So, you know, this is the kind of stuff that needs to be moved. This information needs to be moved around, you know, and it's only with conversations like this that it's going to happen, unfortunately. For those that don't want to talk about it, we have to.
Yeah.
We got to.
And we're not coming from a bad place. You know, we're not trying to shame anybody that doesn't do community service. We're not trying to, you know,
get your ass out there. No,
we don't want to undermine anybody at all. If you know, if fitness isn't your thing, if community service isn't your thing, if education isn't your thing, this is a good place to start. A good place to, you know, have a group of supportive people that like aren't judging you for it, but you know, want to help in that way. You know, it's just, we're just passing along information. So
yeah, and like Anslemo said, you know, you don't have like Dana and Anslemo said, even if you're not out there with us, throw in a comment real quick. What do you want to talk about? You know, you can chime in and help like that. You know, we have a ton of content that we want to talk about, but you know, like I said in the first episode, we want to make this as much a show for you guys as for us. That's my dog, by the way. That's Crucita. Hey.
It's time to go. I guess she's saying it's time to go.
Oh my God.
But yeah, throughout the years, we've met a ton of people that have come forward and wanted to support the project just based on what we've been doing, and so we hope we continue to do that and inspire folks. Thank you all for viewing. Thank you for tuning in. I want to shout out to
Real Combat Media.
Yeah. Real Combat Media. Also, if you haven't completed your census 2020, get that done. Up to $20,000 per person is allocated over the course of 10 years for each person that is counted. So it's important that you complete your census accurately so that the funding can be allocated appropriately. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I also want to give a shout out once again to Don Watts. He's the one that created the beat for our intro, and also Marco for giving us the footage for our intro. And a huge thank you and shout out again to La Sagrada Familia, which is a church that we have our space in, which the address is 600 South 16th Street in Richmond, California. It's a primarily Latino congregation. So if you guys want to hit us up for any reason at all, let us know, either by DM or in the comments.
Lastly, we cannot actually. This ain't lastly. This should have been first. Lady, shout out, lady, lady, holding it down on the ones and twos.
Organization queen
behind
the whip.
Yes, she's the one clicking these screens around so you can see us
and happen.
see all of our beautiful faces.
She's the one. She's the one dropping the cameras. It wasn't me.
All right, you guys. I guess that's it, and we're out.
All right.
See you guys next Wednesday, 7 p.m.
Cool.